Thanks everybody for being here. Exciting news. It was a day ago that the governor announced that we would be able to open our patios today for outdoor dining through Sunday, and we believe and have every confidence that she will come out tomorrow in her press conference and tell us that restaurants will be able to open June 1st for a 50% capacity. So that's what we've been talking to her office about, and we don't have any reason to think that that's not going to happen. So that's the news before you get the news.
There's a question on that point, Carol, of do we know when she'll give that update? And generally speaking, I don't know for sure, I haven't seen the press release, but generally speaking, she has those at either 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
And we do think it's going to be Thursday. At least that's what we were told Sunday, I think it was, that she'd do a press conference on Thursday. So I just want to let everybody know that we're putting together a video, and it's a video to make our customers comfortable coming back to restaurants. Restaurants are ready, our kitchens are ready, our employees are ready, and we just like to get some real photos of real restaurant folks, things that you're doing in your restaurant. If you're doing some extra cleaning, love to see that. Love to see employees preparing food safely with masks and gloves. Have employees make signs that restaurants are ready to serve you. We're ready, are you? We love you, we want you to come back, all of those things. And it's those COVID safe practices that are going to make people feel comfortable coming back into our restaurants. So as you saw, outdoor dining permitted starting today. And the interesting thing was, and Allison, I think you did get some direction on this. We have been asking because in our estimation, there is no fire code occupancy for outdoor dining. And
I can answer that.
Yeah, okay.
I can answer that question. But before I do that, I just now got the press release from the governor's staff. And so her press conference will be tomorrow at 3 o'clock.
Okay.
And you can watch that on her Facebook page. And most of the news outlets are actually carrying those, at least down here in Las Cruces, where I am. There's one news outlet that carries that, and that's the KFOX. And I think KOB and KRQE in Albuquerque are carrying it for the rest of the state. There may be, all three may be carrying it. I don't know. So that's the answer on when. The answer on the fire code and outdoor seating. The clarification there is if you have a patio that's your kind of normal patio, you do not have occupancy there. But if your patio is somewhat enclosed, or if your outdoor dining is on a deck where people then have to have a single point of exit or something like that to get off of the deck in case of a fire, that's where you probably have a fire marshal's code on how many people can be on that deck or in that patio. So these are going to be mainly for patios that are somewhat enclosed, or a courtyard or something along those lines. So that's that. Everybody else, if you just have a patio that's adjacent to your building and you're able to get off of that, like by trampling over plants, then you don't have to worry about fire code in that situation. So that's the answer. I hope that answers the question.
So, and we'll take your questions in just a bit. A couple of things I wanted you all to be aware of is that the city of Albuquerque is proposing an ordinance. And they're trying to be very helpful in allowing for folks to have extra space to dine outdoors. So they're doing a couple of things, and I think it's pretty creative. One of the things they're doing is allowing restaurants to have parking places that are city parking places outside of their restaurant, and use those as what they're calling parklets. And so you could put a table or table and some chairs out in those parking places if they're near your restaurant and you can get food to them. So these are some of the things that Albuquerque is doing. Santa Fe is also doing quite a bit on this. Let's see if I can find that. So we sent this out, yesterday. And this is the Santa Fe City Outdoor Dining Program. If you haven't seen this, if you're in Santa Fe, they're doing a lot of creative things to allow you the space to do outdoor dining. And I just want to say that although the governor came out and said yesterday that today we were going to do outdoor dining, and really our expectation is that Monday we'll be able to do indoor dining at up to 50%. As much as you can get space outdoors, from what I hear from other states, customers are more comfortable eating outdoors right now. So you might consider that. And not only that, but it's going to help you with that capacity. You know, restaurants aren't built to run on a 50% capacity. They're built to run on 100% capacity. So if you can build that space out in your outdoor dining, and more so, I think in northern New Mexico, because it's a little more temperate here. It's getting pretty hot down south. But sometimes you can set up misting systems and other things, but it's just one more way to allow you to expand your footprint. And we are also talking to the Alcohol and Beverage Control Department to see if they can forgo some of their requirements for you to expand your liquor footprint. So, and Allison may be able to talk about that. I know she's got some answers to some of your other alcohol questions.
Currently, under your liquor license, you can change your floor plan by, I think if it's within 25%, by just filling out a form and sending it to Alcohol and Gaming. So I would go ahead, if you all are looking to do that, I would go ahead and get those forms in right now. They ought to be able to get to them relatively quickly, because it really, you're not asking for more than 25% of an expansion in that situation. So that's the way I understand how that works. So if that's what you want to do and you want to shift your floor plan around a little bit, get those in, start working on them today, get them in so that we can get them going. And hopefully we can get some sort of process that expedites that. But from what I understand, that process should take a few days to get. And in conversations I've had with the liquor director, I think they want to be as reasonable with us as they possibly can. So so get those forms in as soon as possible if you want to do that.
Yeah,
hey,
John.
Sorry. Hello, everyone. Just a quick question. You know, in anticipating, we're looking at opening our terrace level, which is generally used for banquet seating. We've got a package license in the hotel, like most do. We service alcohol out there. We've got a bar built, and I believe at one time we actually did serve food out there. But that's our idea, is opening that on Friday. Does that obviously would count part of the property that would enable us to sell alcohol out there as well?
If that's part, yeah. If you're with hotels, I think your entire premises is your floor plan for serving.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Then I believe that's indeed the case. But if SIU shows up, please don't quote me.
I won't. It's been a little bit weird, especially with our retail package store. So I'm just trying to get some clarification. So thank you so much, Allison.
You bet. My pleasure. I think Al has his hand up.
Yeah, I was going to say that the liquor department, when you want to expand that liquor service outside, and it's not in your footprint or your map that's on file with them, they don't require you to go to an architect and get drawings and everything else like that. A rough sketch can just take care of it. Be sure you show entrances and how you can control people going out there, so that you don't have people just hopping over the fence or walking in from the outside. That, you know, you can show 21 and so on and so forth, but it could be a rough sketch. It doesn't have to be an architect's plan. So John, in answer to you, if you're already if that is service area in your footprint, and most hotels already have that, you should be okay with that.
Al,
Yeah,
thanks for adding that.
we do. Thanks, Al. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, so continuing on, one thing I wanted on this call, I know not all of you are from Albuquerque and Santa Fe. Those are the two bigger cities that are working on helping their restaurants with this outdoor dining and outdoor spacing. If you're in a smaller city, if you're in Taos or Espanola or something like that, talk to your mayor, talk to your city councilors, and see if there's things that they feel like they can do or things that you feel like they could do. We're working with a couple of tent companies right now that are giving some great bargains, and and I just, you guys need to know that they're out there to do these bargains with you. But also, there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes when you rent a tent. So now you've got to go out and get a permit from the city, and everything else that goes along with that. So we're also working with these cities just to see if we can't make that a little bit easier on you and not quite so difficult. So if you have difficulties, please let us know, and we'll see if we can't cut through some red tape for you. Let's see.
Hey, Carol, quick question
Yeah.
on that. On our terrace, initially, before we went through some issues with the city towards the end of last year, we had a tent out there. And at the end of the year, we were told that we needed to take that down. I don't know if it's directly through the city or the historical part of the city itself, but they were not having that at all. That's a large area which we're going to be using for seating, and it'd be great to be able to have some shade out there. So if we could get some clarity on that as well, it would be fantastic.
So I will say that your mayor is being very helpful in all of this. So if you got our email yesterday, the Santa Fe City Outdoor Dining Program, I would go on and fill out the form and see if you can't get a permit for that space. And again, if you can't, then let us know. But I would just go do this, because honestly, they are doing everything they can to accommodate restaurants in Santa Fe, and I certainly appreciate the government for doing that.
Absolutely. What was the website again? Was the City Santa Fe Dining, Outdoor Dining?
Yeah, I don't know where this form goes.
Just go on there and it'll give you all the the screen is up. It says find out or fill out form. That'll give you all the information you need. If
Gotcha.
not, I'll call the city hall and tell them you want to talk to somebody about tenting. I don't think that the outdoor dining program, that you need to apply for that if you want a tent up on your terrace, because your terrace is probably already set for dining and drinking. You need to find somebody that will your tenting problem. You can do it probably with temporary umbrellas and stuff like that, but it's a matter of getting a permit to put the tent up there. That's what you had a problem with, not whether you were serving up there or not.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you, Al.
So I just want to remind you all of things resources we have on our website. This is the New Mexico Restaurant Promise page. You go on our homepage, and it's right there at the very top. And the resources that are available to you, there's this promise poster that you can put on your front door. And it said, our promise to you is that we will continue to be a leader in sanitation. Our staff will wear face coverings. Our staff will pass a health check every day. Our indoor and outdoor seating options will comply with the appropriate social distancing. And then it goes on to say, your promise to us is that you will wear a face mask, that if you've been exposed to COVID, you won't come in here. You'll use our carry-out options instead. So I just want to say that, this is one of the resources that we're putting out for you. If you want to see the state's requirements, it's in this document. It's called All Together New Mexico from the state. We have temperature logs that you can use for your employees, a deep cleaning guide, employee health statement, face mask policy, etc. And then the other thing I want just to pose here is that to get your employees back into the swing of things, and there's a free video from the National Restaurant Association and ServSafe, and it's ServSafe reopening guidance. And I just would suggest it's free. Everybody use this if you can. There's a lot of states that are developing these as well. I don't think we need to develop this. It's in Spanish, it's in English. Use it as much as you can with your employees, because I think, you know, it's imperative that we get everybody on the same page with our extended COVID safe practices.
Carol,
yes.
On the point of our employees, now on the testing for COVID, they now allow anybody who is working. As a matter of fact, anybody really can get tested right now if you want to. And so you may want to encourage your employees to go get tested. While it's not the most fun thing in the world, I was actually tested yesterday. I do know that the state is going to want to begin encouraging restaurants, especially, you know, folks that are really out there with the public, to be tested. So I would go ahead and start encouraging folks right now to get tested just as soon as they can.
I've actually heard also that the state health department, if you can get a hold of them, they will come out to your work site and test your employees. So that's also something that you can work with the health department on that.
And I do know the environment department is very eager to work with us on, you know, if there's neat ideas that we have to maybe have restaurant test day or something along those lines, so that maybe several restaurants can band together and get Department of Health to come to one particular place, that we can do anything like that. Anything that is going to help them improve the numbers of people being tested. I think they're going to be very open to helping us out. And also, Carol, when we get to that point, I do have a bit more answer on the floor plan for our liquor service. So whenever we just got an email from one of our members who got an answer from ABC on that.
Oh, great. So I'm going to ask you to talk about some of the liquor issues, Allison, including that, because I know you've been talking with the Alcohol and Beverage Control Director. We had some clarification that we needed on people with full dispenser licenses, and I think you got that clarification. So,
right. Well, I've asked the Alcoholic Beverage Control. I'm still in the old name. I've asked the director to please send me something in writing, just to make sure we have all our questions answered. I have not heard back from him directly, but what one of our members just emailed me is that, you know, those of you that are dispensers that have the license that still has package intact, you all can be selling your package. You can do that. That's not a problem. And then the second part on that is restaurants with patios. The Alcoholic Beverage Control says they're going to have some sort of expedited process for that. So I'm not sure exactly if that means that they're just going to expedite those forms they already have, or if they're going to come up with a new form. But we'll keep a close eye on that. And if there's a new form, we'll get that out to you. And what we might want to do, Carol, is on that opening resource page that you had all those links, we might want to do a link directly to ABC's form for that. Okay, yeah, if you can get that link to me, we will add that. You bet. And so basically what they're saying is that they will do an expedited process. And I'm really hoping that they're true to their word, that they're communicating well with SIU and letting SIU know, so that we don't have a situation where left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. So that's the answer to that. I think the other question we had on bars, so under this new order, bars are not allowed to open. So if you're a restaurant and serve alcohol, you can do patio dining. And then on the first, you should be able to do in dining room dining as well. So bars, and you're defined as a bar under the governor's order if you are 50%. Alcohol sales? Yeah, so 50% food sales. So yeah, 50% alcohol. So if it's a 50-50 split, then you're considered a bar. So if you're a restaurant, and restaurants under a restaurant license is supposed to be 60% food. So that's below that 50% threshold. So I have advised some folks from distillers or bars to write a very respectful letter to the governor and outlining steps and stuff that they would like to be taking in order to open, and see if that actually helps them get ahead of the game. So a lot of that is the stuff that we've been doing here at the Restaurant Association. We've communicated all of, just like everything that Carol's been sharing with us, basically advised those guys to do the same thing. So.
And we will help and sign on to a letter for the breweries if that's out there, and the bars as well. You know, there are some bars that have a full kitchen, and my belief is that if you have a full kitchen and you can separate your tables, you should be considered a restaurant, not a bar. We're happy to go down that road with you. Just let us know if there's a few of you on the call that need our help on that. We'd be happy to do that. We had nothing to do with the 50%.
Yeah, and I don't know where that came from. If that is a definition that is in statute, I did not research that, so I don't have an answer as to why that 50% plus on that alcohol sales came in.
So one thing I want to talk about real quickly, because I know you all are wondering, is about the contact tracing. And as you know, in the governor's first order, she had talked about contact tracing being mandatory for restaurants. And they backed off of that a little bit. So it is mandatory that you keep a log in your restaurant, but it is not mandatory that every customer sign that or give their information. It's voluntary on the part of the customer. One of my members, he mentioned that he was going to just place a card on the bill so that you're not having to have this conversation early on in the dining experience, that it's kind of that last thing they see is here's a comment card, and if you would like to leave us your contact information for contact tracing, we're happy to take it. And then you take that card, you put it in a card file, and as soon as 4 weeks are gone, you destroy that information. And we do this until it's not required anymore. So that was a compromise a bit from the governor's office, is that it will be voluntary on the part of the customer, but it is mandatory for the restaurant to take that information if the customer is willing to give it. And if there's no other questions about that, Dion, do you want to read some of these questions? We'll see if we can get to everything.
There we go. Yeah, actually, we've been answering some of them as we go. Can you address San Juan County? Can they anticipate opening on June 1st as well?
I don't believe so. I think what may end up happening with San Juan County is that so the rest of the state has been in kind of the preparation and phase 1 opening, but the northwest part of the state, which is Gallup, so McKinley County, San Juan County, and what is that, Cibola County? Yeah. So
well, Sandoval's not considered. It's really San Juan
and McKinley and McKinley counties.
Yeah.
So what I anticipate her to say tomorrow is that those counties will move into a very light opening of businesses. So what she calls phase 1A or phase. So the rest of the state's moving into phase 1B tomorrow, but Gallup McKinley County will move into phase 1A, not tomorrow, I'm sorry, June 1st. So you may see opening of some retail, small retail, but not restaurants at this point in time. So that was the gist that we heard when we spoke to the governor yesterday.
Okay, great, thank you. Debbie has a question about unemployment. How can we find out if business owners can continue to get PUA unemployment after we open in a very reduced way? Basically, part-time opening.
Good question. I think that's something we'd have to talk to the workforce development department about. And so you must be a small business, self-employed, and you're getting the unemployment. I have no idea when that goes away. We'll have to look into that for you. You're welcome to email me at executive@nmrestaurants.org, and I will go to the Secretary of Workforce Development and find out an answer for you. But please do email me, because I can't get back to you from these chat questions.
Okay. We have a mask question from Melissa. Are we required to not allow customers in if they do not have a mask? Sometimes it can be tricky if a customer comes from a state that does not require masks. And should they have them available, I guess?
Well, you might have them available. It's, this is going to be dicey for restaurants right now. It is a requirement. And even though I have friends that are never maskers, which is, that's okay for them. It's just a difficult situation, and it's going to put you in a bind because it's going to be between two customers. There's going to be a customer wearing a mask that believes that masks are mandatory, and they are. And then there's going to be a customer that comes in and says, I'm not going to wear a mask. And we've kind of said this to the governor. We don't want to be the enforcement agency on this. Customers can't really wear masks while they're dining, but our request is that they're wearing a mask as they come into the restaurant. And that's part of that restaurant promise piece that you saw, is that we're requesting that you wear a mask coming into our restaurant. And that, as you're walking past other customers, you're wearing a mask. If you're going to the restroom, you're wearing a mask. When you sit down at your table, you're not wearing a mask anymore. So it is going to be dicey. Al?
Yeah, I'm just going to suggest that some people are talking about just having a bunch of scarves, like Wild West handkerchief
Bandanas.
and bandito type of mask, just for people that are obnoxious and don't want to wear a mask, and just kind of get over that little bridge that you need to cross with a mask. But I don't think that you can enforce or ask somebody to leave or whatever. Look what happened to Costco. I mean, it's be a big brouhaha, but we need clarification on that.
We can seat them quickly outdoors and feed them chips and salsa as they sit down. We'll get some clarification.
Well, and I don't think there's, the clarification has come out, and it is that masks are required. And so I think you guys need to think about this ahead of time and think about how you're going to deal with that situation, because I believe this situation is going to come up, and it's not going to be comfortable for anybody. But also, you really don't want your hosts and hostesses to have to deal with that situation without any knowledge, without any previous knowledge. So I just put it out there, and I'm sorry, we've been adamant that we don't want to be the enforcement agency on this, but I have a feeling that the customers are going to require us to do that. So that being said, Dion, next question.
Okay, we have some questions that touch on best practices versus requirements. Has anyone seen plexiglass as a requirement?
So it's not a requirement, but if you have, say you have booths in your restaurant, so that you don't put any booths out of service, you can put plexiglass in between those booths. So that is, plexiglass isn't mandatory. It is mandatory to maintain that 6 feet of spacing unless you have a protective barrier like plexiglass. I believe that is the answer. That's in the, thank you. Yeah. Oh, good. You're opening those. Good.
Well, and that's an interesting question, because I want to get to that altogether in New Mexico. I believe that they got barriers in here, but do you know, Allison, if they did for sure?
I believe, yes, I'm pretty sure they did, because that is one of the things I put in the comments when we were serving on the committee, is that plexiglass should be allowed. So what is, it's gonna, so yeah, let me see where it is. Go down a bit.
Install
we
large plexiglass
provide-
sneeze guards
yeah.
at cash registers wherever possible. But I do believe that we've
And that's
talked
in
to
the
them.
best practice part. That's not in the required part, I believe. And then there's also somewhere in there, I know it says, I'm almost positive, unless they've,
Well, this says comply with the health order limitations on bar and counter seating and non-seated service, and if otherwise permitted, ensure 6 feet distance is maintained between customers.
okay, that's.
So our understanding was that if you had a barrier, that was going to be sufficient
Should still be in
to
there.
relax the 6-foot rule, but we will get clarification on that as well. I thought that got in here, but
I thought that got in there in one version that I saw, but there have been a couple of changes put in since they, so, but at one point I did see something in there. Scroll down, Carol, if you don't mind, to the best practices. Okay, they must have taken that out.
yeah. So we'll find
but
out. And make sure that
we'll find out.
okay.
We'll absolutely find out.
Okay, Carol, if you could stay on this page, and then I promise Al will get there. This is from Jorge Brazil on Facebook. Are single-use utensils going to be mandatory?
No.
No. So they changed that.
That's in the best
There
practice.
is a version of this document that has in the required place here, they have that disposables have to be used, single-use items. But we went back to the department, they changed that and they put it in here. So if you provide single-use items such as plates, cutlery, and napkins to customers, and you cannot leave them in common areas or on tables for self-service. So in other words, and I'm going to use Dion's as an example because Dion's usually has the plates and cutlery to one side. You go get your plates and you take them to your table. In this case, Dion's would hand you the plates and cutlery that you need to take to your table rather than having a lot of customers touching that same thing. So that was the difference. And again, Allison went to bat for us on that because it was not in the original document, but then it got into this original document and they have changed it at least once.
Well, and I want to thank Jorge for actually bringing that to our attention because it did escape us in the first draft. And so thank you, Jorge, for bringing that up. But yes, it is just a best practice. So you can use them wherever possible, as much as possible, unless you unless you can really sanitize your dishes. So it's a best practice. It's not a mandate.
Al?
Yeah, I was going to ask, I think Todd, I think Bill Folke's on, but do any of the suppliers have a supply or can they acquire disposable masks, getting back to the mask picture, inexpensively so that, one-time use for people that just need to walk from the hostess table to the dining table to get past that edict? Is there anybody from the suppliers besides Bill and Bill?
So I want to say, Al, that I have talked to all of the suppliers and they do have masks available. They have washable masks as well as disposable masks. The expense to giving them out to our customers may get a little high. It's going to be an expense that we don't normally have for our employees as it is. And I see Todd on here. Todd, do you want to answer that question?
No, Carol, you're exactly right. Thanks, Al. There are some available, but at this point, we also have a lot of restaurants that haven't been opened at all. And so some of those may go to them just to have their staff covered as well. So I think between all the suppliers, we do have supply that we can provide. Al's question, but how far that is for in this point.
So one thing I want to direct you all to is, and thank you for setting this up, Al, is that we have a lot of folks that are talking to us about PPE supplies and helping out during this crisis. And so there's vendor resources here. And I don't know if they're on here yet. We just talked to a group today that is a New Mexico manufacturer that does face masks. They also have the thermometers available. So for those of you who don't have those thermal thermometers yet, you know, we are going to be required to take the temperatures of all of our employees every day, and it's not going to be very comfortable to put something in their mouth. So let's get those thermal thermometers. So I just want you to know that there's a list here of folks that have, of course, you saw the non-toxic disinfectant, and then folks, a lot of other folks have supplies for us. There's dividers here, so the plastic barriers from different folks, face shields, masks, menus. Yes, Dion, you're the one who's putting this page together.
Carol, you might need to just clean your cache, because I have a lot more on mine than you're showing on yours. I see some of our vendors are in the chat and have brought that up. We've got Wasserstrom with no-touch thermometers as well. The company that we spoke with today with the large supply of masks hasn't got me their information yet.
Okay.
We do have a local manufacturer. Their masks are made here in New Mexico, if that's important to you. Iceworks is offering a free ice machine cleaning to get you sanitized and ready to go. So just kind of take a look here, and it's changing every day. So we're featuring our members a little bit more prominently, but at the bottom, as Carol showed you, there's a list of other offers too. In case it's a non-member, we still want to give you that information.
Yeah. So again, your major supplier will have some of that, but there may be, you may have a need for more supplies, and in that case, we've got some folks that are coming to us to get this information to you. Dion, next question.
Sorry about that, I was still muted. Paul has a question about social media. Have we had any word on using social media as a check-in method for contact tracing, helps promote the business and eliminates the need for customers to touch a pen and a notebook? Have we heard anything about that as an alternative since it's now not mandatory?
I do know that came up in a conversation I had with the Secretary of the Environment Department. There has not been anything put out in a document form, but that was one of his suggestions, is that perhaps social media check-ins would be allowed in that case, but I will follow up with him and get clarification on that.
Yeah, and it assumes that all of your customers are on social media while they're in your restaurant. Many of them are, and that would work for them. But as far as I know, you know, what they're talking about is that you have a log of customers. I would say I wouldn't put a log together, because I wouldn't want one customer to see another customer's information. So I would really just a card that they hand to me with their information on it, I think is the best we can do. Continue questions.
So Steve had a question about Cibola County. I think he joined us after we went over the counties. Will it follow the same requirements as McKinley?
I don't know the answer to that. I think that's going to be need to be determined in the governor's press conference tomorrow.
Okay.
She's been doing it regionally, and so I don't know if that
Cibola, yeah, I'm not sure if Cibola is in that. I don't know which region Cibola is in, according to her maps. It looks like it's, yeah. Sorry,
so we
Cibola,
don't know. We don't know. I'm sure it's going to be in her health order tomorrow. So be sure and watch her on Facebook tomorrow live at 4. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay, Dion, more questions?
I actually think that we have answered all of them. So if I've missed anyone, some of these questions have been answered and commented on within the chat itself or through your additional explanation. So I think we're okay. If anybody wants to raise their hand or type in another question for us, we'd be happy to address it. Or if you're Al, you just unmute yourself and jump on in.
So let me just, Dion, excuse me, let me just correct the record on when the governor's press conference is. It's going to be at 3 tomorrow.
Okay, 3 o'clock tomorrow.
I think we said 4, so yes, 3 o'clock tomorrow.
And we are Facebook Living right now, and they have been passing those questions on to me as well.
So again, if you weren't here in the beginning, we do believe that the governor is going to come on her press conference tomorrow and allow restaurants to open at 50% on Monday, June 1st. Fingers crossed that's what happens, and that we get to go forward. If there are no other questions, and we're happy to take more, you're welcome to unmute yourself and ask questions. One of the things that we're considering doing is a webinar like this on the PPP loan forgiveness. For those of you that have that, keep your eye out for that. I'm looking for a CPA that can do that with me, and maybe get our attorney on as well. So this is the latest that's come out on the payroll protection loan, and it basically says that, you know, this is how you're going to get forgiveness. It's a little bit different than everything else we thought it was, but it is your document to go to your banker and get forgiveness on your loan. So if you need help with that, be looking for that call coming up. We don't plan on having any more calls. My feeling is that everybody's going to get busy once we get open again, and I'm thrilled about that. If there's anything we can do for you, please let us know.
Hey,
for those of
Carol,
you, yeah.
We do have a raised hand too, and I'm
Okay.
sorry. And
Go ahead.
Bill raised his hand, so jump on in, Bill.
Yeah, I just wanted to respond because I know there was a question asked by Alan and seen me on the line. I didn't respond. I just wanted to let everybody know that I am no longer with Shamrock, but I'm still very involved with the board, as Carol knows, and the exec. But I'm no longer, so I can't really answer any questions for Shamrock since I'm no longer with them. And I just wanted to let you know that, so that you didn't feel I was ignoring you and not answering your question, Al, or anybody else. So just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Thanks. And Carol, we do have another question came in on Facebook. We have tables outside. Does our license allow us to serve beer and wine outside?
I don't know if your license allows you to serve beer and wine outside. It has to do with the map that you send into the Alcohol and Beverage Control Department every year, right? You send in your map and say, this is my service area. If that portion is on your service area, then you are allowed to do that. If that portion isn't on your service area, you need to, there's a place you can go on the website, I believe the ABC website, to expand your service area. And supposedly they're going to try to make this very easy for us. So I would say get that application in quickly. Allison, you may know more about this than I do.
Yes, so I'm going to be sending Carol the link to that form, and so hopefully we can get that link then on the NMRA website on that reopening page. Yeah. And then that way you can get that in. But yes, if your floor plan currently allows for that beer and wine outside, you're good. If not, you need to request an expansion of your floor plan.
We actually have another one, Carol, if you're still good. And then I'd like to do a membership plug, if that's okay.
Great.
Wally Manoli on Facebook. How does one tell unemployment about employees refusing to come back to work?
So that's actually on our COVID page. And there's an explicit, let's see, not NVD, sorry. So in this guidance from the Workforce Development Department, they actually have, if you go down to the bottom, reporting job offers. If you have offered somebody a job, you send the department all of this information on each employee that you have offered a job, and they should be taken off of unemployment because they refused an offer of a job. So that's also on our COVID-19 resource page, New Mexico Department of Workforce Solutions guidance for back to work and UI during COVID-19.
Okay, great. Now the questions are rolling in since you tried to,
okay, good, yeah.
to stop. Go ahead.
Carol, this is Paddle Boyle. I'm sorry I'm not able to raise my hand. I'm calling in mobile.
No problem.
Do you have an expectation or in the governor's order what the rule is going to be on self-serve buffets, including self-serve drink stations?
So as far as we know, those will not be allowed. And I know that's a problem for the self-serve drink stations. You're going to have to put somebody at that station to serve those drinks. And I would say that refills are going to be heavily discouraged, just because you don't want something that's been touching somebody's face back up at your drink station. And as far as buffets, I believe you can still have the buffets out, but people cannot self-serve. So you would have to have an employee that serves from that buffet. Is that correct,
Okay,
Allison?
thank you. It's similar in other states.
Yeah.
Athena on Facebook needs some clarification. On the document, it says screening temperatures of employees is a best practice, but it was mentioned that it is a requirement. Can we have clarification on this? And do we need all documentation when screening?
Oh, let me see if I can find that again. That's not it.
While she's looking, just to let you guys know, Allison just posted a link to the alcoholic beverage controls floor plan form on our chat. You'll want to grab that before you leave the webinar today. And
we'll also put that in our alert for tomorrow and on this page as well. Lawrence, if you're here and hearing me. What am I looking for? Oh, the Altogether New Mexico. And the question was, I'm sorry, the question was whether or not screening temperatures of employees is a best practice or a requirement. So that is under, for all employers, on this document, the Together New Mexico document. So this is the screening. So you're screening employees before they enter the workplace each day, verbally or with a written form or a text-based or other app. Send the employees who are experiencing the following COVID-19 symptoms related to COVID-19 and direct them to obtain free testing. So if they have a fever, and you won't know that unless you're taking their temperature, if they have a cough, shortness of breath, sore throat, headache, muscle pain, chills, repeated shaking with chills, or loss of taste or smell. So basically, what you're going to do is you're going to have a clipboard and you're going to say to each employee, I'm going to take your temperature. Hopefully it's going to be an infrared thing that you don't have to touch them. Do you have a cough? Do you have shortness of breath? Do you have a sore throat? And then they will sign that paper and say they do not for all of those things. Or if they do, then you have to send them home. And don't forget that there's the requirement for sick leave now as well. And not to put another wrench in this, but there is the requirement that came out with the first COVID relief package from the from the feds early on. and that's on our COVID relief page 2. And that's down here under FFCRA's Family First. I can never remember this one. But anyway, there is a poster that goes up in your restaurant. It's the employee rights poster. And if somebody is experiencing COVID symptoms or they have to take care of a COVID relative, there's things that you have to do and you have to know. So this is the poster that goes up in your restaurant. And there is also this is the guidance from the National Restaurant Association that's going to tell you how to deal with requests from that poster. So just keep this in mind. Now you do have to give your employees sick leave. You will get paid back on the other end from the feds, and there's again, there's more guidance in here that tells you how to do that. Other questions?
Yes, Bill wants to know if cloth napkin silverware roll-ups are acceptable. He's noticing in other states, they're having their cloth napkin silverware roll-ups wrapped in saran wrap. Do we have any guidance on this?
There is nothing in this reopening document that would require you to have disposable items. So, and that was in here in the beginning. So you don't have to have disposable items. You can roll silverware as far as I know. You know, I mean, take precautions when you're doing it. Obviously, somebody in a mask, somebody wearing gloves is rolling silverware that has been disinfected. So if anybody knows differently, please let me know. But I do believe we can do that in New Mexico.
So I think Yvonne has our good closing question. How long should one expect the 50% occupancy to last before being fully open?
I'll tell you that my thought is, you know, if we get through a month of COVID going down, then we'll be able to ask for the expanded seating. And I will be asking as soon as, you know, June is up and we have June numbers. I'm hoping that in July we'll be able to get back to a normal pacing on this, but I don't know that for a fact. I know the governor has talked about September and November being when she's going to reopen bars and other venues that are the larger venues. So we've just got to be careful about keeping those rates down. And just so you know, I did talk to colleagues in Alaska and Georgia who have been open for quite some time. Georgia is open almost without any restrictions now, and they have not seen a big jump in their COVID cases. So that's promising. Our governor is being exceptionally careful about what she's requiring of us, and so just know that we'll do what we can when we can, and we'll start pushing for that as soon as we think it's possible to push that with the governor. I wish I had a better answer for you, but I feel like a politician. I can't give you an answer.
I don't know that anyone can give that answer.
Right. So with that, thank you, and you're always welcome to email me at executive@nmrestaurants.org. We really appreciate y'all being here, and good luck. God bless you. You know, let's get this thing open. Let's get it going. Thanks so much for being here. I'm trying to end this thing.